All right, guys.
Let's huddle up.
Hello, everyone. This episode, we're really excited to introduce the one, the only, Jen Allen-Knuth.
Yay!
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. I'm especially excited to be here because two women podcast hosts, like we need more of this. I've been loving watching you both. So thanks so much for having me.
We're so excited for you to be on. You know, we loved your slogan at first, like demand Jen. And we're like, we have to get her on because she's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's genius. How did you come up with that?
So I can take zero credit for this. When I quit Challenger, I had a boss and I told him I was leaving. He was like, all right, listen, if you're going to go out on your own, if you do not name your business Demand Jen with a J, like you have a wasted opportunity in front of you. I was like, this is the best goodbye gift ever. Thank you. So I wish I came up with it. I didn't.
I wish he came up with our podcast title.
I'll tap him.
So
see what
funny.
he thinks.
We can always rebrand Delilah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Jen, we'd love to take it back however far we need to of what brought you here today. What was your first job? Like, what is your story?
Yeah, I think like most of us, my first job was probably babysitting of some sort, but my first like actual job
That's so true.
was, yeah,
So
right? Unpaid babysitting. My first actual job was in a restaurant. I was a hostess. I was actually fired from my first job. It was the only time I've ever been fired. I know. I was, this is going to sound really cheesy. I don't even know why I brought this up, but I was in the homecoming court. And so I called the restaurant and I was like, you know, I'm so sorry. I might get homecoming queen, so I can't come in tonight. They're like, yeah, we don't care at all about that. You're fired if you don't come in. I was like, oh, okay. So that was my first taste of like,
Did you win homecoming?
I did. I went to school with like 7 people.
Oh my God,
was
that's
not a
so
big deal.
worth it.
That's so worth it.
But so I started there and then I was in restaurant until like through college. And then when I got to college, I thought I wanted to be a sports journalist. I don't know why. I'm not particularly like a confrontational person. And I think you really have to like get up and when someone loses and stick a microphone in their face, that is not at all who I am. I don't know what I was thinking. And so I ended up getting into the major of recreation and event management. And coming out of that, what I thought I was going to do is more event management stuff. So I was interning at this company where we did like Final Four and bowl game travel for alumni organizations. It's kind of cool. Like I love the scenario planning aspect of it. Hated the fact that you're always standing in like a bus parking lot with a clipboard and something cool is going on over here and you're over here doing the boring stuff. So very long way of saying when I got to my first job, it was actually because I had a college roommate working at this company, corporate executive board. She was like, you got to come here. Everybody's smart. It's fun. It's cool. I had no idea what they did. I just knew I wanted to get out of central Pennsylvania where I was living at the time because I went to Penn State. And so I interviewed with the most remarkable saleswoman ever. Ooh. And I left that interview being just like, I still don't really know what this company does, but I know I want to be like her. And so that's how I kind of landed in sales.
I love that. I really hope people say that about us. Like when they interview with us and they're like, I don't know what they do, but I want to be like them.
Right. That's goals. What was her position? Just curious.
So she was an account manager. So she was responsible at the time. She was selling like an annual research best practices subscription to Fortune 100 CMOs. And so she just had such a force of presence. And I could tell just like the minute I walked in there, I'm like, this woman is going to hold me accountable. She is not going to let me cut corners. There was just something about the way that she communicated, the way that she held herself. Like, I don't know. I just was totally wowed by her.
Do you still talk to her?
I haven't talked to her in years. I still talk about her a lot because I really credit her for like making sales feel like a career that I could do, but I haven't talked to her in years.
You never forget your first, honestly. Yeah, maybe if somehow this reaches her, her page, she'll take a look.
There you go.
We didn't even ask. Like, did you end up getting the job?
I did get up getting the job.
I'm just like, no.
I'm like, no.
Could you imagine? Yeah. I'm curious. Like, so many people look at your content. You're very is the word captivating? Yeah, I think it's captivating. You're very captivating. Like I remember I saw you speaking at, I think it was the last Go to Market show, and you had such a good presentation. It was talking about like, where's Waldo? So I'm curious, like, how do you spark ideas? Because you're just like always producing really good content.
First of all, thank you for saying that. I find that like a lot of people, my best content ideas come when I'm either in the shower or when I'm taking a walk. So I'm not going to shower 7 times a day, but I can take more walks. So I've been really intentional lately, I think, in particular of just giving myself the freedom to go out there and just like kind of let my mind wander. Where I come up with really shit content is when I sit and look at this computer screen all day long and scroll LinkedIn and just end up finding myself talking about the same thing everybody else is. So I think a big part of it is just, I think with anything creative, you've got to kind of let your mind wander a little bit. But the second part and more, I guess, helpful part to that would be, I just find that in sales, there's so many lessons we learn every single time we have a conversation. So if I go back to when I first started creating content, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I would do at the end of the day or the beginning of the day is say, okay, what happened yesterday in a sales conversation that I think is exportable? So what was an assumption someone had, or what was an assumption I had? What was something I tried that didn't work? And then I just started putting that kind of stuff out there. And I think one of the reasons that it worked was because I wasn't putting stuff out there and saying, you know, because this worked in yesterday's call, this is something everybody must do, and you're doing it wrong if you don't do it this way. And what I've observed over time is just there's a lot of content in LinkedIn particularly that is written like that. Like, you're a moron if you don't do it this way, you're getting it wrong. And it's just, I always felt like there was like a finger pointing at me with a lot of that content. And so what I knew is I just didn't want to make people feel that way. I wanted to recognize that there's a lot of gray in sales, and this might be one way to solve a problem, but it doesn't mean it's the only way. And if you're not doing it this way, it doesn't mean that you're a moron. It just means that maybe you have different lived experiences up to this point. So those are a few of the things that are really important to me in my content. Is I never want to put someone down to pull myself up. I always want to make it seem like, hey, there's this thing I've learned. Let's learn about it together. And, you know, it's ultimately your choice if you want to do something with it or not.
That's so interesting, because I feel like there's such pressure behind content these days. Like, what time are you posting? How short are your posts? Like, are they easy to read? Are they relatable? Are they too, like, it's just, then it makes people not want to even go there anymore, forget to sound like themselves or like humans. It happens to me all the time. I find myself on ChatGPT, be like, no, sound more like me, please. I don't understand what you're saying.
I think also what you touched on too is like when people are saying like, oh, if you're not doing this, you're wrong, these types of things. And then it has people on the other end thinking like, oh my God, I got to change up my strategy or have to do it this way now. Or even though this way has been working for me for so long, this person says I need to do it this way. And then it has you even more overthinking and down a rabbit hole and so on and so forth. So I think that's like a really great point that like anyone who's listening, if we have viewers, no, just kidding. But like really something to take away, like to stick to what you know. And just because Joe Schmo on the internet is saying like, hey, you should be doing it this way, it doesn't mean you have to change your whole strategy.
I feel like that's in life too. Not just content, right?
That's the thing. I think, you know, people who, if we think about people who we really like spending time with, it's people who make us feel smart, people who make us feel funny. I think one of the things that has taken off in content now is to try to make ourselves look like the smartest person. Like if I see one more person come up with a go-to-market name, like a new go-to-market name for a new motion, I'm going to jump into my fist. But it's like, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I think in many ways in content, it's more about being relatable. Am I someone that, you know, when I read your content, can I see that this person has had similar challenges and problems that I have? If I believe that, I'm going to be more likely to listen to what they have to say. It's not like I only listen to the people who make themselves sound like they're the smartest person in the room. Honestly, like a lot of that content is really off-putting to me. And I mean, Victoria, you brought it up. Like when you're in sales, the hardest part about being in sales is there are 5 million opinions about how to do any one job in sales. And so it's very easy to get lost in the spiral of like, I'm going to try this and then this and then this and then this. And then you never end up figuring out what works because you're too busy trying too many things. You never can get the reps to make it work.
I also think it's like the people who are authentic and they're posting, like you can tell that their personality is shining through, or you know, it sounds like their brand, like your brand demand Jen, right? Like it's really you and authentic, and you're bringing like your taste to your content. And I think that's why a lot of people probably relate to the things that you do post.
But I will say, like, I didn't do that in the beginning. So I don't want to make it sound like I just, it was like effortless. In the beginning when I was posting, I was so afraid of trolls and people being like, you're wrong on a public platform that I posted really safe stuff. It was all, if you go back like to 2020, it's all just like bar charts and pie graphs and things like that. Cause I'm like, you can't argue with data. No one's going to come for me on this data. And no one did. But in the same token, no one really, I don't think a lot of people like remembered my content. It didn't really stand out. And so I give Josh Braun a lot of credit. Because we post about sort of similar topics, he reached out to me and was like, I've seen you post smart stuff, but I got to ask, like, why do you never have an opinion about any of it? And I was just like, oh, that's harsh, but I needed to hear it. Right. Cause he's like, you have all this sales experience. You post this graph and I'm waiting for you to have like a story to tell or a point to make, and you just never do it. And so that conversation really, I think, gave me a lot more confidence, just saying, look, people are going to argue with you, whether you're right or wrong, because it's the freaking internet. Like, that's what you get when you post things on the internet. So spend a lot less time worrying about that shit and worry about, like, do I have things that could be helpful to someone?
Do you get trolls like on LinkedIn?
I was just about to ask that, if she still gets trolls. So
funny.
So my sister, she posts a lot of content too, and she found a page on Reddit, and I wonder if you've seen it. It's like LinkedIn lunatics or something like that.
I'm like, what is this, TikTok? Like, this is supposed to be professional.
Yeah. No, people troll Delilah.
That's insane. But okay, anyways, you get those?
Yeah. And it's never anybody who's like doing better than you. And that's what I've come to realize. Like, I had this one person that, I don't remember anything about them, but they wrote on a video, they said, you should never speak in public again. I was like, okay, that's my entire business. That's cool.
They're so jealous.
It's
so
the thing
jealous.
is, it's like, whether or not they're jealous, it's like, I do believe deeply that hurt people hurt other people.
Yep.
So I'm just like, I'm not going to get in a fight with someone in a public forum. It's just not my style. I have made the mistake once of engaging back and forth with a, shit poster, and I got nothing out of it. And I wasted a ton of my time. And then I wasn't satisfied at the end because those people never come around. So if anything, if I do believe it's well-intentioned, like, I'll take it to a DM and I'll just be like, hey, here's how I'm interpreting what you said. I might be just like reading it the wrong way. And I've resolved a ton of stuff that way. But I think that requires someone, like, I love healthy skepticism. I love when someone pushes back on an idea. I think that's the whole point of LinkedIn. It's not to agree with each other, but there's a respectful way to do it. And then there's a way to do it to be like the right person in the room. And that's what I don't have much time for.
We love emotional communication.
Yeah. But I honestly think that if you're getting trolled, then you're doing something right, because you're getting big. I'm saying, like, people get trolled because I'm like a nobody on LinkedIn. Like, my friends would never comment mean things, but if you're getting strangers to comment, you're on the right path.
Yeah, your stuff is hitting somewhere.
Yeah.
It should be like, I mean, you can go online and you can post like, you need to ask great questions in sales, you need to deliver value. And it's like, okay, you're going through the motions, but you're not really saying anything that's meaningfully adding to the conversation. And so I think you're right. Like, I'm not someone, I will never be a person who posts just to get like a rise out of someone. I think there's a lot of that now too, and you can see it from a mile away, and I hate it. But I do think, like, it is okay if someone violently disagrees with your idea. It's just an idea, as long as you position it that way.
People always want to just talk just to get to like hear the sound of their own voices. And sometimes I think that's kind of how it is with content and like people posting on LinkedIn. It's like they're not providing value. They just want like their name to be seen or something like that.
I totally agree. It's like, you can tell someone's intention when they write. It's why I love writing so much. It tells you how someone thinks, what they believe, what's important to them. So I'm with you.
What's like the biggest opportunity that, I mean, maybe you can't say, but that you've gotten from your content?
My entire business, like every opportunity I've had since I left my last company has come directly from my writing on LinkedIn or someone seeing me present somewhere else. And I think that's why, like, I'm not someone that's like, everybody should be on LinkedIn. But if your goal is to do anything similar to what I do and speak and train and all the stuff, it's like, it is the easiest channel, because it gives someone the ability as a bystander to see what you stand for and to see how you engage. And it's like basically a commercial that's free for me. This costs me nothing. And it's free for them. They don't have to like, go through a gate or do any of that shit that nobody wants to do. So I think the biggest one that I had this year was GE reached out, and apparently there had been a sales leader in one of their divisions who had been sharing my content. I never knew he did it. Then when they were looking for their sales kickoff speaker, the guy said, "Hey, I'd really like to have Jen. Here's an example of a video."
Oh my
he shared a
gosh.
LinkedIn post, and then I got it in one call. Like that's
so
crazy to
exciting.
me.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I was really proud of that.
I think being someone else's like SKO speakers, like, you made it.
Oh yeah. And everyone's like waiting for this one like speech.
Yeah. Like I remember we went to the outreach conference last year in Seattle and Mel Robbins was the speaker. So like, yeah.
We were front row with our popcorn ready.
Oh, we're obsessed with her. So it's like if you get the chance to speak at someone's SKO, that's sick.
It's really fun.
So something that you talk about is like risk aversion and losing prospects because of their gut feeling. Because we have a lot of SDRs who watch the pod.
Yeah. So if I think back to how I was taught to sell, you go in and you show someone that there's a better way to solve the problem. So no matter what you're selling, you're always selling a better way or a different way. And so I would go in when I was selling Challenger, which is a sales methodology, which keeps no one's lights on. Let's be honest. Like there's plenty of companies who have methodologies and plenty of companies that don't. Like, is it better to have one? Sure. But can I get by without having one? Also sure. Right. And so what would happen is I would go in and I would talk to these CROs and be like, listen, here's all the great reasons why you should buy this methodology and you should have a methodology and it should be Challenger. And here's all these case studies and here's all these wins. And they'd sit there and they'd nod their head and they'd be like, you're right. That is really cool. And this is much better than what we're doing today. And then 2 weeks later, they'd come back and be like, but we're still just going to have Debbie like train people. She's been here 100 years and like, sure, training's fine. Maybe not the best, but it's good enough because we've got all these other things over here that are really important that we need to spend our time on. And so when I started looking at why I was losing deals, it was almost always because of that. It was rarely because someone was like, no, I hate this methodology, or no, I think what we're doing is better. I was getting head nods that what you offer is better, but we're going to stick with good enough. Because what I didn't appreciate is, as a sales leader, anytime you buy anything, we'll use sales methodology, but this is true for anything, you put a massive target on your back, particularly right now, because you've got to raise your hand in an environment where most CEOs and CFOs are like telling their teams to spend less, do less. And you got to say like, I actually kind of want to spend some money that we didn't plan for. That is a risky proposition for someone. It is also a highly, highly effortful experience for someone, because now I've got to go and get everybody on the bus. And that is all work on top of a job that is probably already difficult. Yep. And so when I talk about the gut feeling, this is a really gut feeling reaction a lot of my prospects were having, which is, I could do all this, but if I buy a sales methodology, it means I've got to get marketing on board, our leadership team on board, product on board. Then I got to pull all of our salespeople off the line. And is the problem even that big to warrant doing all that stuff? So that conversation was happening in my customers' minds. And I'm over here being like, we have a 15 times ROI. And they're like,
yeah,
so this everything
is so
I could
relatable, by the way. So I'm just like loving this. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. And so what I realized after losing enough of those deals, unfortunately, I was working for Challenger, so I was learning from that methodology, is that oftentimes people choose to do nothing different, not because you're not good enough. It's just because to do anything at all is really risky and scary. And so that's where
I was going to say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
So I think you can, but you've got to get that dog to want to use the analogy. You've got to get that dog to want to learn a new trick. And so often we are forcing a new trick down someone's throat without really ever changing their hearts and minds around, do I even think I need to change at all? And so that's where like all of the cost of inaction kind of content came out, which is once I stopped saying, let me just freaking forget about what I'm selling and look at the problem of what my solution solves for and start there. Like, can I show that this problem is costing you way more risk, cost, time, money than anything I'm about to ask you to do? And so it just totally shifted what I talked about with customers. And the better I got at that, the more access I got, the higher up I got, because I wasn't a sales rep just like pitching a shiny widget. I was someone who was coming in and holding up a mirror to their business to say like, look, we've always done it this way for a reason because it used to work. But now this thing over here, this is our enemy. That made it not work anymore. Let's first agree on that before we start talking about solutions to fix a problem.
As SDR leaders, that's kind of how we phrase all of our outreach to our SDRs. Like, you want to lead with the pain and talk more about them, less about us. Yeah. So find any pain points that you can in their experience and how much it's actually costing them at the end of the day. So instead of saying like, you need our new shiny product and it costs X amount of money, it's like you're losing this amount of money because of your experience or what you currently are doing. And this will actually save you money. So very similar to your philosophy. And we also saw you do give advice to SDR. So is that kind of along the lines of what you tell them as well?
The hardest job in the whole sales arena is the SDR job, full stop. Like that is one thing I will fight tooth and nail over. Like if I can get a prospect interested enough to take a call, like the job of closing them, there's still all these hurdles, but the job of closing them is easier. I've always thought it's wild that we give the least experienced person in the business the hardest job to get someone to want to spend time with us. It's wild to me, but it does set someone up for a great career in sales. Cause if you can do that skill well, I do believe that like, that's what makes you a good salesperson. Mm-hmm. So what I talk about with SDRs a lot is like, you need to think a lot less about what you do, like what your company does and why it's great, and start thinking a lot more about what your customer does, why they think and believe that approach is good enough. What information can I introduce to get them to have the moment to realize like, shit, why have we always done it this way? It's like a very tricky psychological thing to do, which I love spending time with SDRs on. Because if I come in and I'm like, I use this analogy a lot. If I walked into a party and I saw someone who was dressed like an idiot and they thought it looked good, if I walked up to that person and I was like, you look like you're really struggling to get dressed this morning and it probably is resulting in you having no dates and no friends, like it would be just the cruelest, like, most evil thing on earth to do. So I could be right. Maybe I'm right about it, but I'm still wrong because of my delivery is just like massively off-putting.
Oh, that's such a good analogy.
Right? Yeah. But we do this shit all the time. And Cole, looks like you're struggling to what? Like, you don't know me. You just popped in and now all of a sudden I'm struggling to do my job. Well, that's when we
say like, you don't want to call anyone's baby ugly.
Yes.
So we try to like tiptoe around it, but.
Exactly. So it's like, just forget about that. Don't attack the behavior, attack the beliefs and assumptions that dictate that behavior. Because for all of us, we hold truths to be true. That's the stupidest thing I'll say today. We hold these things to be true.
It's okay. I asked you who writes your content.
We hold these things to be true, but it's because somewhere along the way, we heard someone we admire say this is the right way to do it, or we did it at our last company, or I don't know, we just assume this is the right way. If I can find why someone thinks and believes that this approach is good enough, and I can introduce new information there, now all of a sudden it's their aha moment. And they're the one to be like, oh, I've got this great big idea. And now all I've done is just make that possible. Again, just like the conversation we were talking about with content, I want to be a rep who is smarter about the customer's business. I think that's a stupid bar to hold for anybody, especially SDRs. But I should be able to come in with a point of view to get someone second guessing the way they've always done it. That I think is a very fair standard to hold us to.
That's so true. And it's like coming in from like a consultative approach and not more so of like, hey, this sucks about your business. Let me tell you why we're great type thing.
Yes.
Now me and Delilah are like, we need to change our emails.
No, I'm just thinking because of this, me and Victoria are full believers in being super personalized. Sequences are great because they keep us efficient. But in terms of the content purpose of a sequence, we really like to pull back a little bit because we want them to be able to personalize it, really dig into their experience, like you were saying. So we're more now about framework versus specific verbiage that you have to say.
Love it.
Is there a specific framework you might not have mentioned that you put in your emails or you recommend SDRs to go by?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. And again, this is not the right framework or the only framework. This is just a framework I prefer. I love starting with an observation about them. Reason being, as you all know, right? Like the preview text is where someone decides, do I open or do I not? And so when I write an email, I want them to see right off the bat. I don't want it to be like, I was reading your annual report. I just want to get to the damn point. Like, what is the thing I saw them trying to do that shows this is an email to one person? Then the second line would be, and because of what I saw you trying to do, it looks like maybe this could be a potential issue to get there. So if I'm going from A to B, here's this like roadblock right here. Then the next line is social proof, but not in the sense of like, and we worked with so-and-so and they worked with us and then everything was magic and roses and they have 1,000% ROI, but rather social proof in the sense of like, I have worked and had conversations with other leaders in a similar domain to you who were weighing the pros and cons of, do I go left or do I go right? So I think that is something we diminish a lot as salespeople. We don't have to show like why when someone bought from us, everything was magic, because people are skeptical of that anyway.
Right.
What I do want to show is I've had conversations with other people, and I have a window into pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages that you might not be seeing yet. And that's valuable.
Wow.
And then lastly would be, I'm a big fan of like an either way or PS close. So either way as a softener, like either way, loved seeing this, and compliment them on something that you genuinely think is cool about their business. It just removes like the desperate last of like, are you free on Tuesday for 5 seconds so I can explain our value prop? Or the PS, which is like where I would put a really highly personalized thing that I don't think has anything to do with the body of the email. Like everybody knows I'm a dog lover. I'd be like, so you've got 2 rescues. I've got 4 myself. Like just something that shows that I'm a human being, but I would never spend more than 5 minutes looking for something like that, because I don't think that's what books us the meeting.
I love the pros and cons, because you're right. It's not like coming in and saying like, hey, like we did 20x in ROI, yada, yada, whatever. But it's more so like, hey, like I work with leaders like yourself. I can give you a list of pros and cons as to like why you should change the way you're doing your business, essentially.
Yeah. And the way I'll script it is just like, if are you open to hearing how Acme and Beta thought through whether or not they did X, and X would be whatever they're trying to do. And so it's just like, I'm not saying I have all the answers in the world. I'm not saying I know better than you. I'm not even talking about my solution. I'm just saying like we have to recognize the hardest part for a buyer is actually deciding to do anything. And so the more we can be helpful to them there, instead of just once you've decided to do something, here's the best thing you could possibly decide to buy. Like that is this much of the buying journey versus figuring out what to do is that much. For anyone not watching this, I'm using my hands on a podcast, which is stupid. So.
Have you always shortened your emails, or has Lavender really, because for Delilah and myself, like we now think differently on how we write emails and like what our formats are. So I'm curious if
like when I was at Challenger, we were probably like, I was on Outlook, Teams, and LinkedIn, just straight up LinkedIn. Like that was my tech stack. There was no other tech stack. And I remember being on LinkedIn, seeing Will Allred's content. And if you look at my background, all the time I spent at companies was really research-driven companies. Like Challenger was a research-driven methodology. CEB was a research-driven best practice organization. So I'm a big fan of any time where you can take data to remove the like opinion bake-off in an organization. I love that. And so when I saw Will posting about it, I was like, okay, but I already write great emails. But I was covering for the SDR leader at the time because they were out on personal leave. So I was like, I'll bring Will in and we'll have the team look at Lavender. And he was in the session. I think he was like, why don't we pull up one of your emails? And so I took an email that I loved, that I thought was like the best email ever, pulled it up. It got like a 70 something. And I was like, well, damn it.
It is the most humbling experience. Like I feel so dumb when I use Lavender sometimes. I'm like, humble me, please.
Yeah. But it's good, right? I love that.
No, it's amazing.
You can have faith in the outcome, because it's like, how am I going to argue with 1 billion data points? Like I haven't sent 1 billion cold emails. So I remember in that moment, he was like, your big thing is length. And my attitude at the time was, yeah, but I'm putting in all these hyper relevant things. He's like, that's great, but you've got like 5 emails in one email. And so that was the reason why I just was such an advocate for them, because I was like, gosh, he's so right. And now I look at that, like, I'm like you, I look at the stuff, and unsure tonality is one that I absolutely love. I don't think it's just for cold emails. I think it's for conversations. And so it absolutely changed the way that I thought about communication, honestly, as a whole.
Sometimes like even before I post on LinkedIn, I'll run it through Lavender. And I would say like the number one selling point for us internally was going to, our leadership and saying like, hey, like this is leveraging data to be able to, fine tune your emails. We're not just going based off our guts anymore. So, I think it's definitely changed like the email game, but also the content game too.
Oh, sure. It just simplifies everything like so well, like every message I'm trying to convey. And that brings me back to the emails that you said for the SDRs. Like, I feel like, and we're victims to this too, in our content for SDRs, we're trying to like prove ourselves with that line where it's like, we work with X, Y, and Z and we drove this much success. Like we want to get their attention somehow. And we think the way to do it is to either sound smart or, draw attention. And Lavender in general, and that line that you used of how I've spoken with these leaders, and would you like to know what they're thinking? Just simplifies it more, makes it more relatable, makes it more humanized and more warm, I feel like.
Oh my God, Delilah, you already sparked like new ideas for me at the bottom. Like, hey, we spoke with XYZ over at Delta. Are you curious to, hear what they're thinking?
Oh, yeah.
So, Jen, we have a segment that we like to do with people who come on the pod, rapid fire questions. So we'll ask a few. If you could make a law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
Easy. This is the easiest question you will ask me today.
Oh, I love that.
Adopt, don't shop.
Hell
Get rid of
yeah.
breeders. Only be rescuing from rescue organizations. That is my love language.
Do you follow Miss Peaches?
Oh, of course I follow Miss Peaches.
I'm
Love
obsessed with
her.
her. Wait, what kind of dogs do you have?
So I have 4 rescues. I've got a husky. I'll be sitting here and then his head will come up over my shoulder and he's got like this dumb face that I just love so much. And it totally breaks the ice in sales calls. So I've got him. I've got 2 older kind of terrier mutts. And then we've got a pit lab mix puppy. So the
puppy?
husky, yeah. Which,
Aww.
but she's full blown like psychotic puppy, but we love her. She's crazy.
I love pit bulls so much, but people have
Same.
such a stigma on them. Like my older sibling adopted a pit bull. Her name's Malka, and she's black and white stripes, so she looks like a little cow. She's really cute.
So cute.
Pitties
Really
are the
cute.
best. I love them.
All right, next question. What is your favorite quote or mantra that you live by?
Okay, I have to read this because I have the worst memory and I'm old, so I can get away with it. Okay, so it's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote and says, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." I love that because I think particularly don't cry. I think particularly in sales, like I at least found myself a lot in the beginning trying to be like what I thought a great salesperson was. When I got on started doing content, I was trying to be what I thought a great content. And I think it's just so easy and understandable to fall into those traps.
Yeah.
But if we look at the people who really stand out to us, like I'm a huge Todd Clouser fan. We worked together at Lavender, but I knew him long before.
Todd's the goat.
He's the best.
What makes Todd so awesome is that he is so different. Like there is no one out there like Todd. And it's why every time he posts something or every time I see him talking on a webinar, like I'll go because Todd's not trying to be like every other marketer out there. And so I think it's really easy to fall into that trap of feeling like to be successful, I have to look like, sound like someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
But I know with my own career, when I really started seeing like a fast paced move up, it was when I just started being more like myself and stopped trying to be, like some sales author or sales expert that I never was going to be.
I love that so much because like sometimes, Delilah and I talk about it. It's like, are we too much, too fiery, too this, too that, yada, yada, whatever. And then I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to be authentic. Like, I'm just going to be me. And like, I'm going to get my job done. And if people don't like me or my person, like whatever. So I think that's a really great.
And even being authentic has become something that people like act to be. You know what I mean? It's like, what a wild world where like now we have people faking authenticity. It's like, no, just genuinely be yourself. Don't be this like portrayal of authentic that you think will get more likes and engagement. Like what you said, just fuck it, really fuck it, because your crew will come to you. But like if you're trying to be someone else, like they're not coming.
Just have to add.
She had to come in.
Amir.
No, Amir, keep it in.
This is what we post on LinkedIn. You want to talk about authenticity?
Yeah. What's your favorite way to unwind and relax?
Walk around. We live in the suburbs of Chicago, and there's like a 3-mile walk we do around a lake. I don't know what it is about being near a body of water. I just think is calming and nice. So that's been my big thing. Old lady walks now.
I do my river walk every day. It's the best thing in the whole world.
Yeah. You get it.
You know what? I do my Central Park walk.
I mean, that's gold.
Oh, you just one-upped both of us.
Yeah, we're like by nasty canals and shit.
You're not by I've done your river walk. It's gorge.
Yeah, sometimes it's like brown. Like, is that real water? But we love her.
We pretend.
What are you currently obsessed with other than your dogs?
What am I obsessed with? Oh my gosh. I was probably going to say a dog thing, so that's why I'm really thinking.
Okay, you could say a dog thing.
Okay, so what I will say is one of the things that I am really proud of is as I have grown on LinkedIn, one of my end goals has always been to do something good with it, right? So if I'm just like shilling courses and like getting paid for everything, I think that's like such a disappointing way to use a good following. And so now what I love is I'm working with one of the rescues that we got our last 2 dogs from to try to promote a lot of their dogs that are looking for homes. And
Aw.
I am obsessed with that because I think there are so many people who have this belief that if you want a good dog, you have to get, a dog from a breeder. Like there just aren't great dogs in shelters. And so I am obsessed truly with changing people's perception there. And I think there's just there's so many good people doing a lot of hard work. Like if I can do a little bit and just, create awareness, awesome. The people who are really working their butts off are the ones in the shelters, and they need all the help they can get.
I love that. So I'm like really spiritual and stuff. And so there's, like God puts you on this earth with like gifts, and you're supposed to share your gifts with others. And, you have these purposes, and your soul is a purpose. So, maybe not only is yours to create great content, but to really help like others and help dogs or cats or what animals are ever at shelters find their next home.
Guys, you're invoking all the feels in me today. But so Victoria already knows this, but my boyfriend is dying to rescue. He's just like you, like he will not buy, which I agree. He sends me dogs every single day on Instagram because he knows that I'm going to be the one taking care of it. So I have to approve. But one of these days, a rescue just might pop up here.
You better text me when you get one, because
I was just thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to need to text her with all the advice because I've never had a dog on my own.
Oh, it's a gift. It's awesome.
Okay, so we'll end on this one. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh, easy. I am a big fan of tough love management, not in the sense of like be a jerk and make someone be mean, but someone who will hold you accountable to be your very best.
Totally.
And so my old VP of sales, Kevin, I've talked about the story before. Back in 2020 when COVID happened, we were selling in-person training. Like nobody was pulling people together for anything. And so we had to do a major pivot in our business. Like leads fell off a cliff. I was going into my one-on-one with him just being like, this isn't fair. Like our numbers didn't get any relief, but then we don't have any leads, like nothing's coming in. And I was just bitching and bitching and bitching. And he stopped me and he's like, look, you're not wrong. You should have more leads. Like it is marketing's job to give you leads, but the reality is you're not getting them. So you can either sit here and waste your time bitching and moaning to me about something that we can't change, or you can go out there and figure out what are you going to do to be able to hit your number at the end of the year and find a different way. And I was like, in the moment, I'm like, that's not what I wanted to hear at all. I wanted you to like be like, yeah, I'll call marketing and be like, you guys better do your jobs. But he was right. Like I cannot, when I'm a salesperson who gets paid on my ability to close deals, I can't just outsource half of my job to someone else. And so that is really where Demand Gen as an idea kind of came from, because I realized if I'm just waiting for marketing to create my demand and then I fulfill it, like I'm probably going to miss my number every single year. But if I figure out what can I do to create this desire for people to want to have conversations, that is putting myself more in control of my own destiny. And that's why I got into like a lot of the LinkedIn and podcasting and all that kind of stuff. So easy. That for me was just like punch in the face I needed from my manager.
We need to clip this and post this on every platform we could think of. That is like the whole time I'm going like this.
Yeah.
That is the most accurate, like
love, tough love
statement. The best way we could have ended it, because it's so true in any business. We all have our, our battles that we go through, but there's nothing you can do. You got to go out and get it yourself. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that.
Totally. Like no one's gonna do your job for you. Like make shit happen, like get shit done.
Yep.
Amen.
I love that.
That's right.
Jen, it has been an absolute pleasure to do this. We've had so much fun. So excited that you came onto the podcast and gave us your words of wisdom.
I am so excited. Thank you for such a good conversation, and just keep it up. I love seeing both of you shine. The clips you do are awesome. The guests you have are awesome. So it's a real treat to be on today.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.